All right, so just a little history on what we're doing tonight. About a year and a half ago, we had a great opportunity to work with FAU and one of their graduate programs to do a study of what we now call the Northwest area. And that, is essentially the intersection of Powerline, Hillsboro, and the surrounding area. So we'll go over the actual geographical boundaries in a minute. What the graduate students did is they had some meetings. You probably I see familiar faces, so someone was probably part of those meetings during COVID, so they're all on Zoom at the time. But we had some input from the public, input from property owners and homeowner associations, things like that, about what they like about the city, what they like about the area, what they wish they could have, what we need, all those types of things. And then FAU did a report for us and essentially explained some of the things that we could be doing to sort of better service this area. From that, the city went out and reached for a consultant, and we actually rendered the services of Stantec. So tonight we have Jared Beck here with you. He's going to be doing a presentation and looking for that feedback. As a professional, organization that has engineering, architectural services, geographical services, they're much better suited for doing this type of study than the graduate program at FAU. So essentially, this is like that 1B, we're jumping off from what FAU gave us and we're moving forward and trying to find, next step, trying to find some real solutions and answers. And so, again, tonight is really more of a visioning session or listening session. We want to hear your input. We want to hear your suggestions. We want to hear what concerns you have for the area, and we want to hear what you think would be beneficial for the area. Does that make sense? So, and before we begin with that, I just want to introduce our District 4 Commissioner, Todd Drowski, who has been the person behind all this, driving this, and making me work late at night so we can have these meetings. Commissioner, you want to say anything?
Politician always wants to say something, yes. So I want to first of all, thank everybody for coming out tonight in person and for appearing on Zoom. To back up even a little further from what Eric said, when I first got elected, I thought that kind of the western section of our city needed a little bit of a facelift. District 1, the Cove area, the beach area, gets a little too much attention, in my opinion, and our area doesn't get enough love and attention out here. And so one of the things that I thought we could do is kind of look at the northwest corner area, the Hillsboro Boulevard and Powerline Road intersection, and see what can we do to spruce up this particular area here. Now, there's limited things that we as a city can do. We're not the property owners, we're not the developers, but we can enact ordinance changes and we can do certain things, as you'll see tonight, to kind of help developers come in and kind of change the area. And how much do you want to see? How much do you want to see this intersection change? Someone was telling me right before the meeting that they love walking from basically the Boca line to Southwest 10th Street, but you pretty much take your life in your hands when you cross Hillsboro and Powerline anytime that you do it. And there's certain ways that we can do it as well. You see people cross those intersections where they're not supposed to cross, and they cross at all different places, to go to Publix, to go to the movie theater, to go to Aldi's. It's kind of like Frogger out there, and there's certain things that we as the city can do to also kind of siphon people to cross where they're supposed to and make it more easier for people to go where they want to go without all the madness that we have. So you'll see it tonight. I don't want to give too much of the presentation away, but so that was when I first came on board, and that was on 2017, like, hey, what can we as a city do? Here we are, fast forward 5 years later in 2022 to show you how fast that government works. FAU took them, a year and a half to do their study, and they were a big part of this as well, because we would have spent probably tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to do the study that FAU did for us for free. So now that we have that information, it's a large study, and I don't know if it's online or not, but if you want it, I can get it to you. And anyone that doesn't have my contact information on my card here, I'll be happy to give it to you. So that is something that we're piggybacking off of now, and you're going to see from Stantec tonight the kind of the recommendations that they're working with, but it's all up to you. This is where you live. This is where I live. This is where we call home. And so we want your thoughts, your opinions, what you think, can go on here. So we're going to get some suggestions, some prompts, and then we're going to open up to you and the people online to get your thoughts and opinions of how we should proceed going forward. So, I don't want to talk all night, but I could certainly do it, but I'll leave it to the expert here to kind of go through the presentation with you, and then everyone can join in and have comments at the end.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and everyone. My name is Jared Beck, and I am the planner with the executive chair mentioned. group that the city is planning to build off of the FAU study, really take it to the next level with your input and your community's thoughts and ideas in mind. And so we're going to do a bit of a background real quick.
Oh, great. She's working on it.
Did I mention we're taking donations for our technology funds? Uh-oh, do I need to?
Okay, perfect. Well, both the commissioner and Eric had mentioned the general area that we're working at, or working within, and there is a specific boundary. So the northern boundary is the county line, the western boundary is the turnpike, the southern boundary is the southwest end, and the eastern boundary is the military trail. Now, while we're working in that overall area, our focus is going to be Powerline and Hillsboro. We'll also look some, as you see a little bit later tonight, in the military trail and Hillsboro as well, as we go through the focus of more detailed studies. Now, as Eric mentioned, what we want to do in this process, or what we will be doing in this process as a result of the FAU study, is focusing in on a couple of specific things. One of them is that as the city in this area over time redevelops, we're going to look and see what the potential highest best uses are for those redevelopment sites. Identify any constraints that exist within the city right now to impede or may potentially impede or prohibit future reinvestment or redevelopment. Some of that then will tie into evaluating the land development code, which will be largely the zoning. So is there the regulatory framework to support future redevelopment? And the city wants to make sure that there is. Also understanding the specific mobility concerns or considerations and potential opportunities that there may be for improving that. So some of that is access throughout your neighborhoods along Hillsboro, obviously a very, very busy road, crossing major intersections, accessing some commercial areas, your parks and recreation. It'll also look at things like biking and general traffic measures, make things safer, more functional in an automobile. And then we'll also take a look at what some of the potential capital projects are, which means investments that the city may be able to make over time and budget for. And then the last two things we'll want to include within this overall study will be opportunities to create branding. So as the commissioner said, really defining the sense of place and creating a little bit more of a recognition of Western Deerfield Beach. And then lastly, we'll be developing priority recommendations for the city. So as you all help craft what a plan looks like in the end, we'll want to give the city very specific steps on what they can do to implement that. No. There's not that many slides, only about 150, so we don't have to do this one.
Why is that not? I don't know.
All right, so one thing I do want to just make sure we're all understanding, while the city's taking on a very ambitious plan, I don't want anyone to be concerned. Most of what you see, and I'm going to go ahead and point, there's the yellow in here, we've got a yellow in here, the yellow's here. That's all your single family residential, your condominium. The city's not working on a plan to change anything. It's going to do anything in a single family neighborhood. It's not going to do anything in a multi-family neighborhood. And there is nothing in this process that will impact or take away from any of what you see as the green. So there's nothing about the parks that will go away or really have any impact on that. What we're going to look at, and you'll see it a little bit later, are the areas where there is potential change. And that's going to be predominantly along the commercial corridor of Hillsboro. We've got a little bit going north and south on Powerline, and then we've got some also over here on the eastern side on the military trail. Is going to be as we go through this and sort of talk about some of the things that will be occurring. Before we do though, and really this is a part of the listening component for us, and we want to hear from you in the room as well as on the chat, is what do you all like? We want to really open up some candid dialogue on what are the things that drew you to this area if you've been here for a long time? What is it that makes you feel like you're coming home when you come back to the end of the day? What are the things that help you find this view? We also want to hear about I know we've heard from different folks already. Obviously, the roadways are an issue, crossing mobility is an issue. And then also we'd like to hear about some of the things you might want to see if there were changes within Deerfield Beach. So what I'm going to do is just open it up real quick, and we're going to go ahead and do it by raising your hand. But does anyone want to start with what are some of the things that we really like about this area?
The south of Hillsboro and the north. Mentioned you have two big complexes for commercial. They will have Publix on one side, Walgreens on the other side, the Aldi on the other side, McDonald's on the other side, some stores, right? So that's a very busy intersection between that corner and the Target on the other side. So that is a very key in terms of people walking around that we see a lot because they park there coming from. Then they decide, okay, well, and they decide to go to the other side.
Yeah, but and, you know, that is one of the things I'd say, and we've talked about this, you have a lot in a close area, your grocery store, your shopping, your dining, your banks, your really is in many ways there's convenience with that.
The great is to walk easily around there. So many people is afraid of walking there. And there is always car like making the right turn without not even looking for people.
The access to it quite wide. And project with the software stand, if you have some
South entrance,
and they have one software entry, but they like a bridge only for people with bike to go from software stand between one way is independent space.
So can I ask, you're talking about across Hillsboro where there's, on the 10th side? Okay. Okay,
A lot of
because
people
today
talk
we have Independence Bay and waterways.
Right.
And play.
right.
There's a lot of people, but for us to reach the park, you have to go all the way to the Powerline and then north of Powerline.
Yes, you have to go into the main entrance off Powerline. So it'd be nicer if there was an entrance or something like that for,
the project that is ongoing.
right, for 10th Street.
Software State Street.
Okay, right, okay. Okay, thank you.
So what other lights? What did you think of the area? No. How long did you think? And what brought you to West Deerfield?
My divorce, and my realtor found that I'm second owner of the home. So it was upgraded and I'm in love with the home.
How was the house?
Yes.
Anyone else? Yes.
I love Deerfield.
Yep.
It's easy for me to walk up there. There's sidewalks, maybe I don't have the vision you guys have, but
So you like the walking at the mall. You think that's good. You need to walk around inside the mall. Right?
inside the mall.
Not inside the mall, but the walking around inside the sidewalk around the mall. Right? It's easy to access.
Well, inside the mall is just the parking lot.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a great, it's a nice mall. There's a lot of things there. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
Other lights? Yes, ma'am.
I like we live in villages, and I like the residential nature of villages, and yet easy access to groceries, sundries at Target, food fit for gym. The kids can walk to elementary school when they were elementary school age. And the neighborhood is included enough from the traffic areas that it's quiet and it is no traffic for the kids playing in the street.
Chris, do we have anyone on chat that say anything?
I'm getting those asking for.
Okay.
Okay.
You know what? Thank you. We should have repeated what they asked. We had.
So,
Yeah.
we really like the villages neighborhood, safety for families and kids being there. You like the connectivity and access to all of the goods and services, the grocery store, the sundries, the Target, the banks, and all the conveniences running that. Sir, I know you had your hand up.
Yes, I particularly like this place, the woodland here, which we frequently walk and also Backwaters Park and the canal walks. There's a lot of greenery here, and I like to take advantage of it.
So this park, Quiet Waters Park, the canal, the greenery, the recreation, yep.
This is a great park. It is.
The same question. But what is one before Hurricane, because after Hurricane Wilma, it is naked. Before it was beautiful, like a forest. And then after Hurricane Wilma, they took all the trees, they took down all the trees of them. And this was something that I would like to see back again.
We're bringing the park back. How many people have been here less than 10 years? Wow, so we got long timers. Well, let's hear from you. Those that, basically everyone that's 10 plus, what do you love about the area? And I see you're smiling right there, ma'am. So I know you got something to say.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we have 8,500 units in there. We're doing our golf course over to a beautiful park area. It's gonna be nice when it gets all done. I like the convenience of everything being here. When I go east, I feel it's very spread out. Okay, we're here. I have everything I could want, except for maybe a few more restaurants. The only thing that I do see happening though is in the plaza where Publix is. Now that the Outback and other stores have gone in there, the flooding is horrendous when it rains. You can't get in there at all. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but those were like our retention ponds and now they built on them. And that's a real issue out there now in that area.
So another one, it's great convenience, access to everything. We've got some flooding issues with some of the development, but it seems like everyone really likes this area. So let me ask, are there anything or are there certain things that you don't like about this area that you wish could be improved?
Yeah, from the north side to the plaza, to the white one spot.
So I'm gonna go straight to the back of the having this truck. You said your first thing was, yep, you're off traffic. The amount of it crossing there, what about the traffic?
And I mean, the stop in the morning here. So the traffic that much worse. Especially since they put Walmart cold down. So I don't know if it's gonna be. And the really there are to get the turn left on the road, the light really on, takes forever. It allows them to turn. So that would be that.
Never know.
How many is also 10 miles an hour. Yeah.
So Hillsboro line traffic, could you slow the minute?
If you're coming north on Powerline and you want to make a left next to Publix, make that entrance. There's always so many cars, they end up having to back up or they're blocking Powerline because they can't make a left. That's a huge bottleneck. That's a huge problem. Either there's got to be a turn lane light or something. But
Does ever, oh, go ahead.
because cars come pulling in are stopping because people are walking out of Publix. They're crossing. Of course, they're stopping because they have to.
Does everyone here drive when you want to go to one of these, when you want to go to the grocery store and you want to go to the restaurant, car, and you probably get on the road. If you felt safe to walk around, would you walk? Next year, maybe when it's cool out, but or never ever.
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
And I walk 7 miles 3 times a week, so I exercise by walking. I just probably would not walk because you're not gonna get there.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I know, not necessarily 90.
Yeah.
So just to give it an example perspective, I think that's what I'm talking about. You stop either to go with Publix or one of the other stores, we walk around the Deerfield Mall one way or the other, but we don't cross it. I think nobody feels safe to do that, and that's why we get the cars. But if it was a safety message, oh yeah, I would do that. And of course, not in the heat of the sun, like nobody else.
20 years ago, there was a lot of trees around. The fields were not green. So,
If there was hurricane, they will have
everything is that one.
So let me ask this question, we're gonna bounce around for a minute then. If you drive your car to a shopping plaza and you park, would you cross the road if it were safe on foot to go to another shopping center, or would you get in your car and go regardless?
I get in my car because I have to go back to my car. And if I go to a different shopping plaza, but if there were, and I've been thinking about this, there was a tram that picked you up and traveled just between those four corners. I would park and take the tram.
You know, I would say that's a great idea because we see this Century Village
Yes,
small
exactly.
small bus parking and taking the Century Village residents around. And I said, wow, that's a great idea. Why don't we don't have something from the city doing that for us around the city parks or the city, malls or whatever. So I think that's a solution.
That's a very clever idea. What about the, I think you were gonna say something else or not? Okay, what about biking? Does anyone bike here? 1, 2, 3.
I did until I got hit by a car. So I don't know how to do it.
I think the bike lanes are so close to the car. No medium between the bike lanes and the car. We had a friend that were at Delta. So accident exactly because it was on that short lane. Without any.
And I need to remember to repeat what you're saying. You biked until you got hit by a car. What road were you on, by the way?
I lived at 1427, and I was pulling out on my bicycle. I was crossing the right of way to the Chamber of Commerce building with the light, and a guy made a right turn on red, and I made eye contact with the passenger and took me out. And he had no insurance, and he didn't have a valid driver's license, so that was the last time. But
We're getting some comments from the online. Such as the traffic light. Comment. Landscape is currently being upgraded on Powerline building.
Well, let me jump in and take that real quick, so we're not all over the place. So all of our, it's budget season in the city right now. So we are budgeting now for all of our medians to be upgraded in the city. You've noticed on Powerline Road from the county line to Hillsboro Boulevard, that's one section that's being addressed, but all of our medians that are city owned, and not all of them are city owned. So keep that in mind. But there's a vast amount that are city owned, and we put in a large chunk in our budget to get those upgraded. Because when you leave Boca and you come into Deerfield, you know you're in Deerfield and you've left Boca and vice versa. And so we want to not look like Boca, but we want to make that transition a little less seamless going forward. Pat, you mentioned, I'm going to just jump around here for a second. You mentioned the restaurants out here. What kind of restaurants would you like to see? I mean, I know, well, you have the First Watch. I mean, are you thinking something more? Are you thinking something more like upscale? Because we have the Outback, we have the Hook and Reel. I mean, are you thinking something more formal that you can go to, or just something more family friendly, or? All right, so we're all going to pool our money and open a bagel joint after this tonight. Now, you were talking about also 45th and Hillsboro Boulevard, or no, 41st. I'm sorry, 45th is further west, 41st. I mean, I live in Starlight Cove. I will take 6th Street to Powerline and go out that way, then wait for that light at 41st sometimes because it is so long. That's county, that's not city. So we have to work with our county partners on the timing of that. But that's a good comment to make. School starts tomorrow, so don't count on it anytime soon. But that's something that is part of all of this, you know, maybe with the people crossing the roads, that we can work on timing, you know? And I don't know how the rest, I haven't seen this presentation, so I don't know how detailed it's gonna get. But like I was saying earlier, there's things that we can do to help people cross where they're supposed to cross. And maybe working on the timing with the county can be part of that. I think that was.
Online community.
That was mine.
This is where the trolley comes even helpful.
There is a brewery going into the Cove. Yes, I'm not aware of one out here, but thank you for the comment. That was probably my mom that put that in there.
Sure.
On a bicycle issue, probably haven't been that observant about it. The bike path to the, that's not wrong. More people use bicycles, they got a lot more. I go to the store.
So you might ride a bike, but there's nowhere to put them. We don't have bike parking like.
You gotta lock it up. We wanna lock it up. Stay in the neighborhood. Never mind on this world or Powerline. It's not safe. Driving like.
Let me ask you a question to that one. So hypothetically, let's say, and I don't know that we can do this, but I'm gonna just say it. Let's say we didn't have a bike lane on Hillsboro, instead we have a shared use path on. I can see you doing. Yeah, Carl, you are done.
Because people are paying attention to the driving anyhow, and they steer into the woods of the Sharon, is that what they were doing? And, yeah, yes, that would make more sense. I have that in Oregon. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna go to this man right here.
Yeah, I knew it was a joke about the brewery, but there was 2 or 3 places that were on Military Trail right in Hillsboro that keep going out of business. Why? So it was crazy busy, whatever was there, but it keeps turning over.
Where was that? Where?
It faced military. I think that complex is becoming all medical now or
The
something.
northwest corner,
Yes,
the checkers. It's on the corner.
yes, yeah.
Oh,
There was always
Okay.
something there.
no, they are actually just getting a nice facelift, that entire plaza. It's getting a facelift. You're right, there was a brewery thing there for a while. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, that particular edge just doesn't want to stay in the restaurant. But no, they're getting a nice facelift for that.
But that's what I'm saying, it was busy because it was the only one in the area.
Right.
So, I mean, as a joke.
One more mic on.
No, I remember something else that I hate across going out of the public school south from Portland, where it's going. There is the first entrance to the park. And what happened is everybody get out of the public on the right lane, and they never cross over to the left until they reach the cones. And there is only cones like 2 meters from the entrance. So they always cut in front of all the cars. So I never understood why the city never put cones all the way to say this is a exclusive lane to the, to the cars.
Because it's a right.
And you can keep using it, and there is always accidents there. 2 minutes. So I don't understand why we never did something about that.
Yes, sir.
I got a comment about the safety of the intersection Powerline to Hillsboro. It's always going to be a deadly intersection. I mean, every time you go by there, you see new display going up, somebody's lost their life. There's morals all around, both Hillsboro and Powerline. The traffic in that area, they just fly down that street. Hillsboro Station, going from west to east, you see people 75 miles an hour coming up over the turnpike. And they don't slow down. I mean, they just blow right through in front of the school and park. So when you find some way of slowing these people down, it's always going to be too who has to try to offset.
So I'll jump in on that one too. So that's kind of a BSO issue as well. Everyone, we're well aware. I mean, it's not a Deerfield phenomenon. It's a South Florida phenomenon where COVID created, South Florida drivers were bad to begin with, but COVID exacerbated it because when people were home, there was less people on the roads. People could drive basically whatever speed that they want to. And those bad habits have stuck with them now that COVID is winding down. So I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but we have more police patrol and presence out here than we've ever had. Unfortunately, BSO can't be everywhere at all, at all the times. You hear the cars screaming at night or whatever. You hear the motorcycles. I mean, we're aware. We're taking issues with that. I mean, again, I don't know the exact numbers, but let's just say through this same point last year, there might have been like 9,000 tickets. We're like well over 20,000 tickets this year. So we are more than double the amount of tickets that have written by BSO over this course of compared to last year. They can write a ticket in it takes about 7 to 8 minutes to write one ticket. So in an hour, that's not that many tickets when you think about it, I mean, that's less than 10 tickets per hour. So as they're pulling people over and writing a ticket, people are speeding past them that they could pull everybody over, so, but I mean, they can only pull one and it takes 7 or 8 minutes to do each ticket. There's more cars than there is tickets that they can write, but we're aware of it. And we've dedicated more resources in our city than others have around us. So maybe that's why they're getting a head start coming from Coconut Creek, where there's less enforcement when they come into Deerfield, but we're definitely aware of it and we're trying the best that we can. But like I said, BSO can't be everywhere all the time. That's the problem. But we're trying. We're definitely trying. That's.
The traffic is just very, very fast. Hillsboro, Powerline, there's a lot of it. So, yes, sir.
When I'm driving in the area, I see people pull over somebody writing a ticket. Sort of reminds me to slow down, but it doesn't really matter how many tickets he writes a day. So if I see 1 or 2 cops in the area writing a ticket, and I sort of remind them, gee, I can slow down.
You would think so, but that's actually.
I hope so.
You would hope so. You would think so, but that's actually counterintuitive. I actually talked to a deputy because we had some on Northwest 6th Street on the inside there of Starlight Cove, which goes from Deer Point through Starlight Cove to Deer Isle, all the way out to River Glen, clear in the back there. So that's kind of a straightaway there. And there's some stop signs, which are basically optional at times. So I talked to a deputy who said that as he's writing people tickets for not stopping at the stop signs, people are passing him, not stopping at the stop signs. That's what's going on out there. And that's what people, are aware of. And that's why our insurance rates are so high, is because we're not the bad drivers, but there's plenty of bad ones out there. And that's what's happening, out there.
I think maybe we need to pass an amount of speed bumps in the area. I don't know. We gotta put about Hillsboro and Powerline.
All right, so we're going to get a little off topic here. So corral me in here, okay? So the speed humps, I'm a big advocate of speed humps. Police and fire don't like them because it slows down their response times a little bit. And then secondly, you basically have to put speed humps everywhere to slow it down, because what happens, and I've seen this happen many times, I've been doing this for 5 years now, and I've seen it everywhere this happens. If you put speed humps on street A, the speeders will just go one street over to street B where they don't have it, and they will speed there. So you have to put speed bumps on all of them, or they will find ways to speed where there's not speed humps. So they help, but they inadvertently divert the speeders elsewhere.
So you had your hand up a bit?
Yeah, I was gonna say that my danger spot, where I cross regularly, is crossing Powerline and 6th Street, because when the pedestrian crossing is open for the pedestrians to cross, the lights are good for the cars facing me to turn left, and they move fast. And they're probably completely unaware that people are crossing the road, And then when I get to the second end, when I'm sort of more than halfway across, I'm having to look behind me in case cars are coming around, you know, so it's probably the same level.
So
Powerline
yeah,
6, you said?
so the gentleman was asking, because I guess we have to repeat it for the people online, because they can't hear you. They can hear us up front, but I guess they can't hear you in the audience. So the question was about Powerline in Northwest 6th Street, that intersection crossing on foot or by bicycle, correct? So we've asked FDOT, now that intersection is controlled by FDOT because Powerline is a state road. And so we've asked them to look at that intersection because there's been some very severe car accidents there as well. And basically they're telling us there's not enough of them to warrant changing that intersection. There may be some minor things that they can do that they're looking at, but there's really not a lot that FDOT, quite honestly, is going to do to that intersection. The lights, the LED lights have helped significantly light up that intersection, especially at night. And was actually a second light added to the northwest corner in front of Deer Point as well. There was another pole put in there to add more light.
The issue isn't the amount of light. The issue is the light. It says walk at precisely the time that the westbound on 6th out of Deer Creek makes a left turn across the pedestrian lane. So if you're heading east with the walk sign, which says walk, and you're halfway across and you're not to the median yet, that person making a left-hand turn and is not looking more at you because he's looking at the light, very narrowly. And
it's the same with vice versa as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's another time.
Like, so that the walk time with a good long time before the other light, the left turn light turns green. I know you don't have anything to say about that stuff, but you do have.
Well, we don't make the final decision, but we have a lot of say as to having them look at it and what our concerns are. Yes.
Make a request.
And so for those online, we're just talking about the. So for those online, we're just talking about being able to cross the intersection of Powerline and Northwest 6th Street.
So we'll do one last general comment. We're going to shift gears a little bit. Sir, you've had your hand up.
I was just going to say that I remember seeing in the that area, that corner, or even inside the mall. And in some malls, they even put like those mobile police stations, you know, when you have more crime or more something. So maybe to help in that area, maybe we can discuss with the police what they can do. More patrol in that corner and inside those malls.
Okay.
So there would be a substation and patrolling police or some type of security in the area. Did you want anything, Commissioner?
Unfortunately, yes. So, so to add to that is, in addition to more patrols, there's some patrols that we have that you won't see. So just because you don't see them doesn't mean they're not there. That's part of the strategy. And BSO won't let me say everything, So just because you don't see it doesn't mean BSO is not there. And also license plate readers too. We're using license plate readers as well to help enforce. So anything to our disposal, the motorcycle cops, the cops in marked cars, the cops in unmarked cars, license plate readers, we're disposing all of those assets that we can to help with the problem. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay, we're good. We're good. So we're going to,
Not going to work, is it?
oh, do we have other comments online, by the way?
Just a couple. Adding to the traffic, one person indicated that the traffic by the school is not very good. Get the comment. They're concerned about the safety of children walking to school. And in response to a shared use path, I think the thought is, as long as there's some sort of barrier to keep cars from swerving into it, that would be a good idea.
All right. So we're going to move on to the next part. As the commissioner and Eric said, part of our focus, or really a large part of our focus, is going to be the intersection of Powerline and Hillsboro. We're also going to be looking at the areas where we see that there could be potential change. Now, this isn't going to specifically yet address some of the connectivity, bikeability, walkability, but we're going to look at the overall broader physical change. And so we've identified a handful of spots in the water corridor, where we see there's opportunity. And it might be able to help in the screen, or they're largely going to be the commercial areas, right? The destinations where you're already going, where you take your car, and it's going to be the Publix and the Target and you've got the pharmacies and all of the other good things that really serve this neighborhood. These are where we have the largest opportunities. And part of what makes them the opportunities, not just being the commercial space, and not just being because of the places you already go, but because they take up a lot of space. So if you can see on the aerial, the mass of these shopping centers is pretty big, right? Deerfield, Walmart, I mean, you talk about walking up and down, that's a lot. There's a lot of acreage, a lot of land in there. And so one of the things that we're doing as we are going through this process is really looking at these from the scale that they are, not just the uses, but what could they potentially be if they were to be developed. Now, I think you had mentioned, and Eric, you had shared that the shopping plaza at Military in Hillsboro, that's getting a facelift. There's been other investment in some of the recent plazas. There's also been sales of shopping centers by new owners. There are new owners that have them. So there's potentially future change coming. A big part of this exercise is then working with the city to see what does that change might want to look like? What is happening elsewhere around? Is it the region, the state, the country, anticipating the trends that are happening so that the city can best prepare for that in its regulatory framework? Let me do a quick. So before we go into the next slide, you got a sneak peek. A couple of things I want to talk about that are happening. So how many people shop from Amazon or any other home delivery? So there's like only 2 that don't, and I love it. I love the diehard holdouts. So guess what? You know, online shopping, it has been increasing. The pandemic only accelerated it. Even diehards like me that really bought it because I want to support local retail. Sometimes it's just too tempting to sit at my computer at lunchtime at work and click order on something, and it's at my home when I get there, right? Online shopping is going to continue. I'm sure every person in this room is aware of the change that's making on retail, particularly local retail. All of you that go to Target and Walmart, how many people place your order and you pull up in your car? Not yet. We're not getting there. That is the next thing, right? So we're seeing more and more parking spaces actually being removed from general parking to make it convenient for people just to come in and for just to be able to pull up and have their order taken out to them or running and pick it up already. And how many people have gone through the store and you check out on your own now? Yeah, it's kind of depersonalized, doesn't it? Right? So now we're going to go to the store, we're going to walk through that big parking lot, we're going to go in the big box, then we're going to get our stuff, and then we don't even get to talk to anyone. We got to check it out ourselves and then take it out to our car. It makes that online shopping seem more appealing, doesn't it? Right? So that is only going to continue. Retail is changing. Retail in their volume of what retail around the country is doing, store spaces, and they're becoming more showcase, right? They're showing what they've got so you can come in and have that experience, but you're really going to go online. You might even order it online from the store. So we know that it's going to change. Around the country, retail vacancies were increasing pre-pandemic. They took a big bump up during the pandemic. Some areas have done a little bit better post-pandemic. Your shopping plazas are really doing pretty well, actually. Will that always be the case? Probably not. They're going to continue to change as we see happen elsewhere. So we know that owners of retail centers, commercial plazas are really having to rethink what they're doing and what the long-term plan is to have success within those investments that they have. Bonnie, I'm not sure if you're giving me a follow look or not. Do you have anything to add? Okay, good. Couple other things though that are happening that are changing the way we're looking at the future as we see development and these larger pieces of property. So one of them is that, and here's just a fact, over the next 20 years, 80% of net new households in this country will be singles and couples without children, right? People that do not have kids, and that also includes retirees. So our 65 and older population in the country is increasing, and our families with children is decreasing. We are in the most robust period of downtown and urban investment in this country that we've had since World War II, and globally, we are in the largest influx of urbanism that we've ever had on record. People moving to cities, people moving to urban areas, just a minute, ma'am, people moving to urban areas, and the shift is moving away from the suburban single-family home, large lot, properties. Doesn't mean it's gone away, doesn't mean it's ever gonna wholly go away, it's not, you've got it in this neighborhood. But we know there are trends of folks looking towards more urban living. This in part is also, being impacted by the ability for younger people, particularly our Gen Z millennials going into the workforce, that not only have more opportunity to work remote, but they're expecting the expectation of what we have. And particularly the younger generations are wanting to see more experiences in the retail. It's not just the shopping. It's not for everyone, and we are going to have millions of people that love to go home to the gates every night and be in their neighborhood. But we know there's changes out there in the trends that are happening. And that is what some developers are starting to realize or see in their commercial properties. Because they are such large areas of land, and because they're so many things. So what I'd like to do you want to add anything, or should we go straight into it? So what I want to do is just show a couple of examples of what some people, some developers are doing elsewhere. Some of these have been redevelopments of shopping plazas. Some of them have been redevelopment of infill, just parcels within an existing city that are roughly the equivalent of the size. All right, let me go to the water. So this is Mercado, mixed-use shopping center in Naples, residential. It has, on-street parking, parking garages, residential above it. It is a small-scale neighborhood shopping area, not unlike any of these here. Deerfield Beach is a good example of a similar size. Provides activity at nighttime. It's still the destination. Creates a little bit more of an urban environment for the community. We see in Fort Lauderdale, Flagler Village. Some of you may know this, it's right on US 1, major corridor, but they've integrated retail, restaurant, as well as some residential within the overall community. Here's another example. This one is what I love about this, HomeGoods, the national chain. We have those in our neighborhoods all over the place. So this is Midtown Miami, incorporating a residential with a mixed use, commercial, retail on the ground floor area. Just another approach they've taken on what was a series of city blocks, kind of like what we have here in Deerfield. In Estero, this is on the Florida's west coast, Coconut Point. It's very similar to a shopping center like we would have anywhere in our neighborhoods, just bumped up to 2 stories. And then there's also a residential component included within it. And Miami Lakes have a great little main street in their part of their community. It's mostly residential and mostly retail, restaurant. There's office, a nice blend of uses, but also this expands out into a residential area as well. But it's really focused on just being the commercial kind of a main street within a suburban community. And here's just another image also in Miami Lakes. All of these are essentially what could be redeveloped in any one of these larger shopping centers, if this is something that the community wants. But this is very much a direction that we're seeing as trends around. We're seeing this in other places. You've noticed these are all Florida cities, several of them over here on Florida's East Coast of what is occurring elsewhere. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Compare this that with looking what everybody said here. Traffic. Looking here, you don't have even park to park. You have more residents
And less
less park. All huge you be parked. If you look at this, it puts that, apply that. You'll be a mess. This is my opinion. This is my opinion. If you because you are bringing much more people, you are bringing much more people for that intersection.
We are adding more residents to our area with more flooding.
How are you going to accommodate that?
Exactly.
So how is that going to help the existing residents?
The schools are already crowded. Parking is untenable. The streets are impassable during rush hour, and you're putting more people above existing commercial, whatever.
So let's be real fair. No one's doing anything at this point. Now, We're not showing a proposal either. What we're showing you, we're showing you what the trends are doing in California, right? We're showing you what the trends are in the country. We're showing you what they are within the state and within the region. So in Southeast Florida, and they're happening in areas just like all of these larger shopping centers that you have. Specifically with lower density populations like this, because single family homes. So I probably challenge that a little bit. Miami Lakes, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, no, I think we would argue that that's a more dense population, right?
As compared to Fort Myers, those areas.
So what I wanted to do is as we look at this, now let's talk a little bit about increasing the population. So if you added residential, the concern is just that's more cars on the street.
Schools and everything. So you're adding residents to an area that we believe in, there is already flooded.
Here, everybody complain about the traffic in the intersection. Imagine if we put more residents, at least 50% more cars driving around.
So do you think that everyone, if you did do mixed use, if one of these developers came in and said, we'd like to build apartments in our development, where we're gonna have offices, we're gonna have stores, we're gonna have restaurants, is the assumption everyone's gonna get in their car and drive?
If you do like a public hearing, think it's not happening. You know that we go after.
Yeah. We've got two roads, right?
Some of these other areas, they have side streets.
Let me ask you this, for every person that's here, and this is actually connected to, we're not going to talk on this one yet. For everyone that's here, we know what you don't like, we know some of the things you like, is there anything you would want?
For example, in terms of redevelopment, something that I miss a lot here is that the local cinema here sucks. You can go to AMC, you can go to Cinemark, or you can go to Super Spot, but never to the Deerfield Mall. First, they never post anything on the banner or the entrance to you read what is the movies. It's always missing letters and messy. And inside the theater, they already changed management like 3 times, and it's something. The rooms are bad, the sound is bad, the seat is bad, the food is bad. It's terrible. I cannot think of a visitor to go there because it sucks.
So you want a new theater?
So I would love to see a better development in terms of, having there, improving the kids park inside the water park, the park water park. It's a playground and the water park, and it's really outdated and it's small. So maybe something much better than that. Not comparing to Boca, for example, but they have an amazing park in Boca. So, but yeah, those are developments that I think the city is responsible for, can help to make it happen and improve the safety of the roads for pedestrians, for bikes, and more patrol in that busy intersection because we're seeing accidents every day.
I have a question. Since we do brag about our wonderful cancer hospital, do we need more hotels? Do we need more accommodations for your families?
University Miami's hospital? Which one?
Sylvester.
Yeah, Sylvester. That's actually a really interesting comment because there actually are 2 hotels in the Newport Center that are very underused. And we're working right now trying to figure out what we can do to, really it's the ownership issue, but we're actually trying to figure out what we can do to improve those. But I don't people don't even realize that there are hotels there. There's actually 2. And that's something we need to be, we're working on. Yeah.
It's also recommended for families to stay there, but they.
No, it's not meant for, it's really not meant, it actually was designed for like business, you know, like you coming to work at Newport for the week or something like that. Right. But that's an interesting comment, especially because they are actually planning on doing a fairly large rebuild the next 2 years, Sylvester.
Other wants, anything that you would love to see? Yes, ma'am.
It would seem to me that before you look at higher density development, the first thing you look at is the traffic. Because if you're going to add to the population, that will add to
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm hearing that
hoping to get people more pedestrian, more bicycle oriented, where I got hit by it. So it's not safe, number one, and the longer term problem is and always has been east-west connectivity. North-south, we got Chartervale, which runs like nobody's brilliant. The bus system, basically, no matter where you are, and the east-west connectivity is the underlying problem no matter where you are in this county. And nobody is going to move into this higher density development if they can't get where they're going.
So what I want to do is this, let's take density off the table. Take residential off, because I know you're focusing on it. So let's step back from that.
That's what we were talking about, right?
No, I was talking largely residential. Now take a look though at this, all commercial. What if a shopping plaza was developed like this, redeveloped like this? Would you like a main street, no residential? Would you like more of a main street here with no residential? Or is this not what you'd like either?
I don't see a significant difference in that, but there.
Okay.
There's going down the middle of it.
Yeah, the problem that I see with this kind of design is there is no really parking space. It's just a few cars parked in front of the business and nowhere to park, close to reach those businesses.
So the parking garage turn off for you?
Yeah, similar to what they have on the Coconut property. So that's okay. But look at this, no. This is like 20 cars parked in front of the business and that's it.
Great idea, considering it doesn't sprinkle down here. It's monsoons or a hurricane.
I think the parking garage is nice because it opens out into areas that you shopping there because you're only 1 mile away from whatever store it is. Not like huge extent across the way.
Parking garage works if it's easy to access, you don't have to cross a lot and it's convenient.
Shopping.
I will give an existing example in our city that I love. The Target on US 1, close to the Hillsboro Blvd. That one has a very good parking garage and very accessible and works great. And this new Target is built after that one that they didn't do.
So can you go back to the Flagler Village picture for a second? So let's talk what ifs for a second. So what if a developer came in, and let's just use like the Ross Michael Shopping Center, because I think that's probably one of the prime targets in our district. And this is me talking and no one else, no one from staff. This is Todd Drosky speaking right now. So the Ross and Michaels, where the KFC, everyone know where I'm talking about, is that shopping center. That's prime for redevelopment, in my opinion, that center. What if that center were to be demolished and you had something like this in its place, where you would move the center closer to Powerline Road, you put the retail on the bottom floor and then the residential on top of it, assuming, and this is a big assumption, that the people that are moving there aren't driving where they're going, that these are millennials or younger people that are going to stay in the area. They're going to park their cars and they're going to walk to go to their groceries, or they're going to walk and do their shopping, and they're not going to be driving all around. If the traffic data, I said this assuming the traffic data supports that assumption, is this something that you would like to see? And there's nobody coming to build this, by the way. This is not something, we don't even have an application. Nobody's talking about it. I'm just saying, just for assumption purposes, is this something that you could live with in District 4? Should a developer want to develop
And the biggest problem around there too is accessibility. Even people who don't like to use cars, like my son, they don't like to drive. There is no public transportation enough to help them move away. So either he has a lot of money to buy Uber all the time, or he has to drive his own car, even if he don't like it. So we don't have.
So the question was, assuming the traffic data doesn't add a lot of traffic to it, so take that out of it, is this something that you could live with? Because I'm gonna need your opinions on this as we go forward. And there's no, hold on, look at the guy in the back.
I don't think that's really good. That's fine. Fargo, the urban,
Okay. I mean,
That corner's dead. That is a huge deal, but that intersection is not.
something's gonna happen there someday. So I'm just getting prepared, you know? So, and I want to hear your now's a great time to hear your comments. Well, I work in, my day job is in downtown Fort Lauderdale. So I see this, I mean, this is the standard down there now. So, and I don't want to become downtown Fort Lauderdale, but this, if this were a one-off project, or if there was a two-off project, you know, in our area, is this something that you guys could live with? That's, I'm just asking. There's nothing coming tomorrow. Well, that maybe maybe that picture was a bad example, but just the idea, the concept.
If you go and drive to downtown for the day, it's a lot. But see, that has a lot of places that you can walk to work. And the millennial group. Thinking with me, if you put something like that, and the millennials focus millennials to go here, where they go to work with that.
They're going to work remote.
Yeah, you just gave me.
But this is the point. What they want to have space. I work in a big company. One of the things that people complain a lot when they live in apartments like that, they don't have space. Segregate to work. I work in since 2008. I have a room to work. I close my door, doesn't matter if you have a dog, kid, whatever. Going in my home, I am secluded there and I can work. Everybody that I know of that she live like that, they are looking for a single family home to have a secluded place to work, or they look to.
What he's trying to say is that small apartments like these work great for millennials who has a job that they walk a distance to that complex. So what he's saying is, if we open a complex like this, where you're proposing, most likely they don't have that.
Whoa, I'm not proposing everything. Everybody take your blood pressure medicine tonight, because I did not propose anything. I'm just trying to get ideas. That's all.
I'm going to jump in and I'm going to pull up what you just said, because I'm going to give you a respectful tone. I work remote probably 3 or 4 days out of the week in 750 square feet. That is my work environment. And I walk down and I use a community pool, and I go to a fitness center, and it's a very livable life. And I can say most of our younger folks that work in my company do the same. One thing I want to point out though is this. Is anyone been paying attention to rents, particularly in any of our downtown areas? So what are they doing? They're going up. What is student loan debt done to young people? Has it gone down or it's gone way up? Do you know what the average cost to own an automobile in this country in a year? $10,000. You have one-bedroom apartment in our urban areas for $3,000 plus per month. Kids with tons of debt, limited income, and the cost of cars going up. Whether we love it or not, there are folks that say we want these younger urban, or I don't want to say younger, we want this urban area, and I don't have a dog in this fight. We want this urban area, so we're going to go find them where it is less expensive and where we don't necessarily always have to get in a car. We may own a car, but our job lets us work from home, so we don't have to get in it every day. Naples is not the big city. You know, when we look at these places, they're not big cities, but they're being populated by younger folks. They see an option where they can get into something that might be. Now, I'm not trying to push in any one way, but I want to make sure we're understanding this from the broader trend, broader things of what is occurring in places. Yes, ma'am.
pandemic showed us that remote work could work. And yet as the pandemic came to an end, employers demanded that employees return to the workplace. So that was not an option for people who were successfully working remotely. And that may not be an option for all these people crammed into this high residential place that you were calling.
Yes, from what experience here, I used to work 4 days a week in 2008. From 2017, because somebody from Yahoo said it, everybody come back, all the companies bring everybody back to the office 5 days a week. I was in this place, in this situation. I was working 5 days, come back, 5 days a week at home. And now everybody has to go back to the office. So,
3 times
and 3 times at least, independent of so
she's right. Basically, during the pandemic, many people start working full time from home. Now, some reason, I don't know why, the companies are asking everybody back to work. And now creates a huge problem because I can tell you, these last 2 years, I hired people remotely. So now they are there, I have to tell them to move. Many of them are dropping their jobs now.
So there will be a hybrid, right? I think we can go forward saying there's probably going to be some hybrid opportunity for the future. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Some of this, people didn't have to get everywhere like that. They might have worked out too. I agree with you. Cost of buying a car is going to insurance issues, expensive fuel is not going to get. And if I could go somewhere conveniently, not too far, to run little errands, place like that, now I manage your groceries, but pick up this, pick up that. And I didn't have to get in my car, I'd be happy not to. Counter some of the concern about it.
Let's talk.
Oh, decided to give it a little bit right here, okay? Now, it looks as if there's one more recording that's open to people, and then there's a bunch of apartments. It's so unique, it's really
Just redevelopment showing that, yep, you know what, you can keep your same restaurants and shops, and then like the housing that some developers, commercial property owners incorporate in it. That's it. So let me ask this, I'm gonna come back to Commissioner, I'm gonna move on for a second unless you want to add anything else in.
No.
Let me ask this, are there common flaws? When you come back to your neighborhood, are there things that you say, gosh, we really wish we had here? Yes, sir.
That whole area that we're talking about, I can more think of one house of worship that's there, and that's synagogue or West Hillsboro. Some sort of lacking, so there is no house of worship.
by the way, there is a new open street, there is a new house of circular, is a Baptist. Just yesterday, just close to this.
Yes, ma'am.
They already built these walkables right near Home Depot and the Tri-Rail station and everything with the apartment.
Mhm.
And the retail. How's that working out?
In what respect? I mean, because I haven't heard any complaints. There's actually two,
So you're asking about Indigo Station, which was okay. So Indigo Station it's called Transit Oriented Development, TOD. And it was designed for places that are adjacent to things like a railroad, so you can utilize it. There's 4 buildings, and I think it's 301 units. I might be wrong, but it's something about that. And they were on a 4-month wait list before they even got their building permit. They've been, completely sold out, and it's actually been very successful. It's rental, but ridership actually for Tri-Rail and Deerfield Beach went up immensely because of it. Yeah.
They are driving. You guys
So-
some information from them.
Jared, we have some online comments about things people would like to see in
Yes.
Deerfield Beach and in this area particularly.
Let's hear it.
One is more green space and safe biking routes. Another comment is Villages of Hillsboro Park needs to be updated. So updating the green space. Okay. And there was a question. It was on. Anyway, and there's a question about an updated modern fire station on Powerline Road. Is that county or city?
Yeah, the fire stations across the park.
And there were a lot of comments about the traffic and how the Flagler Village image was going to work with the density and traffic.
I think I picked the wrong image. It was just a concept. Oh, I'm getting feedback.
About 20 years ago, it was like a boulevard. The name of the people. Now you cannot even protect it. You cannot even.
Please, and we hear a lot of the greenery. So are there any ones that we haven't heard yet? And happy people. Anyone we haven't heard yet? So before we go into next steps, do you have anything to add in, Eric?
I probably would just say a couple quick things about what we can and can't do from the city. So I know a lot of you already know that, Quiet Waters is a county park and we only have so much we can do with that. That a lot of the roads, Powerline in 10th Street, those are DOT roads. We have some input and some say, but we can't make, the same suggestions and changes that we can elsewhere. So I do appreciate a lot of your comments. A lot of them really make sense to me. And we can work in other means than besides tonight's meeting and what we're moving forward in Northwest area to try to make some of those improvements. Like you made a good comment about the merge lane on Powerline, or the timing on the light. So that's great input that we can get from you that we can then go to those agencies and try to make those requests and see how some of those things work. So I do appreciate that input. And that, we'll try to make sure if we can do some of those things for you. So the university study really was looking at the amount of commercial and the amount of residential that exists and what proposed purposeful redevelopment could occur. They did look at some of the areas that Jared's looked at that are obvious areas for redevelopment. So like Commissioner Drosky mentioned, that the corner where the Ross is. Another area for redevelopment that was discussed was the area across the street from here, the strip plazas where like the 999 shoe store is and things like that. So it was just looking for those areas of potential redevelopment. They offered multiple scenarios, residential, commercial, mixed use, but nothing specific.
Talking about the beautification of the streets.
We did have a conversation and we have a plan in the works for green lanes, which is a way in which you can walk safe from park to park and where we're missing those pieces. So how you can connect areas. And I think, Jared, we're going to really talk about tonight the connectivity part, but I think one kind of things we're getting to is how do you get to some places without getting on Powerline, without getting on Hillsboro? But maybe we can find some solutions for that.
Commissioner, before we go, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I'd like to start a conversation by talking about some of the differences how we buy now and how we operate. Commercial. If I know your transition to talking about some potential for these areas. So all of these areas in the blue are owned privately, they're not city owned. I guess the problem that we have a big box. Reduces that big box and then getting some more functionality on the top. Used to having a little bit bigger than what is going there. They opt not to do that and do something that gets more people here to live or something like that. Correct. So we're trying to get a mix then of increased usage, which may be a little different from the areas that we're used to. And balancing it, recognizing that the person who owns it, it's not us. But we're trying to encourage them to do something a little bit different, a little bit creative.
I should have had you come up here. So I didn't want to work. But yes, and retail changes. And these big shopping plazas over time may, if they follow suit with what other shopping centers have done around what we've seen around the region, the state, the country, they will have increasing vacancy and there will be less need for physical stores. Those property owners are going to want to do something. Those property owners are going to want to do something. And what we are seeing is that there is that investment to create more of a whole community. A community being the restaurant, there may have some more retail, but office, residential, other activities.
Yeah, that's really important to still ask that question because I think there's a frustration saying, what can we do? And, you know, kind of tell a person, buy the property in this green space, that wouldn't be worth your investment. So I think we're trying to strike a balance here and it's maybe a little bit frustrating. That's not kind of stated, so that's why it's important.
Well, I appreciate that, Bonnie.
What we may not realize is not even part of the problem to be a big shopping center. That maybe it was successful, and it got redeveloped to make it. And so if you think about potential, but redevelopment, you have.
Number two. Yes,
I
ma'am.
think one of the things we have to keep in mind is to go to Parkland, Coral Springs, everything that's growing out west. You've got to go Powerline or 10th Street to Sawgrass. Deerfield is the through streets. And that's when she was talking about other avenues to get places. We have an issue with the building going west of us. And so when we talk about traffic, it might not be Deerfield traffic all the time. It's those huge areas out there. It's the casino that's being built. It's everything out west of us too, because there's no other way to get there. They're not taking the turnpike and getting off. They're getting off 95 and coming down 10th and Hillsboro. And that's an issue that we can't control.
I was just wondering, those blue areas that you wanted to be around commercial, are they zoned to this commercial only, or they got already zoned as meaning it can be residential and commercial?
It's commercial.
Yeah, it's commercial.
So that means that they will have to, so the needs to change with the city zoning.
If you're taking this on, if they wanting to go to mixed use, they may have to make a note.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Yep.
Is that a yes?
Yes. And the power rests with the city to determine what the future of these areas are. To make it either become high density residential, a little bit of commercial underneath, with the implications for traffic and the residents who are already here. Or it could be a decision to do what Eisner did and scale down and put a park in there and require that of them. They're interested in profit and they're going to make a profit regardless of what you require them to do. And because they're located and because there's people around it. So it is your decision what you're going to do with it, not theirs.
You're right.
Provided they can make a profit.
Yeah, developers, it is true, like they're property owners, they have certain development rights, but if they want to request something that's outside their district or outside their zone, they have to come to the city and do additional applications, and we always have public hearings, and you've got a commissioner who has great outreach, and absolutely. And so, you know, you're going to hear about those things prior to they happen, you would absolutely have the input.
And then you're going to require a zoning change to make that mixed use. Are you the residential in here because you know or housing?
But you're going down a road we don't need to go down. No one is presenting a proposal right now seeking the zoning change on any property. This was us saying, here's what's happening in other places. We've got big commercial properties. Maybe someone might want to do something like this one time. What do you think? I know you're zoned in on density, so I know what you think. But we're just putting the conversation out there, and this is not a public hearing, it's really a community conversation. It's anything to possible. Yep, yep. So-
I don't have any inside information, by the
No,
way.
it's not. So with that, I'm gonna do two more, and then we're gonna go into next steps, unless, actually, we'll go to Commissioner to add another comment. Ma'am?
It depends. It depends if mixed use would be a land use change. Broward County is making a lot of changes right now. And currently, residential is now or can be permitted in commercial if you do as a zoning change. So it's not always a land use these days. Things have changed recently.
Last one, man in the front.
No, we all know what you're saying.
Chris, is there anything else?
Commissioner, would you like to make some comments before we go into what our next steps are? And you don't have to, but if you'd like to, you're welcome.
I'm good.
So, yes, sir, you're gonna be the last one.
You're the last one, huh? You don't know what changes are gonna happen after you put in the expansion of the Southwest 10th Street. How long you need you to change after you put that highway in? So this, I think a lot of this is might be academic. You don't know what kind of nightmare it's gonna be when it gets done with that.
And one of the things I want to say, and, you know, commend your commissioner and commend your city staff, you know, this is nothing that's happening tomorrow. This is a process to look ahead.
We went through the same process with Southwest 10th Street, but it was a done deal 5 years before they ever brought it to the table.
There's no done deal. So,
I mean, nobody's passed anything, then we wouldn't be having this conversation if they hadn't already decided to do it.
I'm giving your city accolades for looking down the road and being strong, but I think that this is a great job. So with that, and this is the first one of multiple meetings that we'll have, conversations that we'll have on the things that, as we go through the study, on the specific items that we had outlined, we would be looking at as we go through the process. And so what I just want to leave you all with is, you know, we're going to go ahead and take a look further at the properties and commercial opportunities. We haven't done a detailed study to see what could actually fit or what could not fit. This was just identifying them for tonight's conversation. We're also going to be focusing now on the mobility. You know, we've heard a lot about the bikeability, the pedestrian access, some of the intersections, the roadway issues, the congestion, you know, things like shade are the trees that you brought up. Those are great things to help make walking more appealing, biking more appealing, provided it's safe, right? It becomes more functional how we use it.
I'm just wondering why it doesn't say like green of the area or just say mobility.
Well,
He made this before we talked.
Sure that the next time we do this. So, what is but we're gonna keep going. And then we are gonna take a look at the existing land use and the zoning and see what could be done, what's realistic in terms of what market expectations may be at some point. And then we'll also look at what some of the potential capital projects may be that the city could undertake in those. We'll have some limitations depending on what's FDOT owned and what the city owns, but those will be the next steps that we'll be taking as we go through this process. So with that, Eric.
That's great. Thanks everyone for coming tonight and signing up. Please take some cookies. All right.